Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Lloyd and welcome to No Budget Reviews, the series where we go around the country finding cars that you can buy in good condition with an MOT for under £1,000 and filming them with absolutely no money at all. So we have to use my phone, no microphones, no fancy DSLRs, nothing like that. Just good honest cars that you can buy for very little money and you can enjoy driving. Well, viewers, No Budget Reviews has had a budget cut, and this is what we shall be looking at today. This is a 2006 Rover CityRover, that's the way you have to say it, 1.4 style. I'm very privileged to have been offered this by Elliot, who you'll see in a little while, who bought this car about a month ago or so. I can't believe I've actually got one of these on the channel. It's not a car I hold in particularly high esteem, and having just actually driven it to the filming location today, I can definitely say that when I first drove one of these cars in 2012, I was at the time actually engaged in an unofficial capacity, in an unpaid capacity, to find a car for somebody that I knew, and this is what she wanted me to get her. And yeah, it's a very controversial car. I'm sure many of you on YouTube will be familiar with this, and other internet sources such as Aero Online. It really was effectively a replacement for the Rover 100 or the Metro, but entirely sourced from Tata in India, who now own Jaguar Land Rover and even the Rover name itself. And gosh, Rover didn't particularly always make the highest quality of cars, but to find this badge on it, it really doesn't, in my eyes, deserve it. Particularly not the Series 1 car anyway. This car was registered by A.E. Wilcox, which also registered, funnily enough, one of the old 216s I used to have. They were based in Gloucestershire, and this car was registered well after MG Rover went bankrupt. Now, there were some Series 2 cars after this. This is still a Series 1, and they were on their way to Britain from India at the time of the MG Rover bankruptcy. They did come into possession of some owners through Motorpoint, I believe, a car supermarket, in quite small numbers. But you're more likely these days to find a Series 1 car. It was launched in 2003, and the earliest ones I think you'll see will be 53 plates. So it wasn't a car that was on sale for an awfully long time, and this is the top of the range style model. Funnily enough, that was also the name of the top of the range MG3 when that was launched in 2013. If we come round here inside, lift up this rather cheap fitting door handle, but I can tell you it's going to get a lot worse in here. Everything is just inconsistent weighting, really quite poor quality, and this car that's done 31,000 miles, it does show considerable signs of wear, shall we say. We've got electric windows, some of which work some of the time. A Blaupunkt stereo, I think this is the original unit for the car. Air conditioning, which, as you'd expect on an Indian car, is very, very powerful indeed. Having been to India and experienced the heat that they have over there, you do need that. The car's got white dials, which is actually in common with a lot of the MG Rover range from mid-2003 onwards. Although we don't get electric windows, we get electric mirrors in every other car other than this. We don't get electric mirrors at all, and objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. We do get this sort of weird carbon fibre type stuff, which I don't know, it's just a bit of a weird decision in my opinion. We've got these switches, which are of no particular order, for the rear wash wipe, which actually still works in this car. Rear heated window and 2 fog lights. This being a style, you get front fog lamps. If I just insert the key into the ignition here, there is actually no lights on warning buzzer in this car, which is really weird. There isn't one. It's a bizarre thing, but there isn't one at all. You can see we get lots of lights coming, although for some reason the thing in the middle, if I turn that off again, that's not a light. That's a permanent little sticker thing, which is to do with the alarm and the immobiliser. It might actually just be on this car an alarm with no immobiliser. I don't remember actually. The clock is kind of here, and we've got a passenger airbag switch down here as well. Same position as on an MG3 actually, although the window switches are, not tailored for left or right hand drive. They just dump them in the middle for anything. And these heater controls, they work, I suppose. That's all I can say. Weirdly, if we turn the car on again and have the air conditioning on, you can see that the button is here, and it's here on all cars, regardless of whether they're fitted with air conditioning or not. But the decal for the symbol is not on the button, it's down here. Don't really know why that is. And why is that? Is that moving? Right, actually, I quite like that one. Let's leave it on for a second. Glove box, I think that's locked. We might literally leave that locked. Got nothing in the middle apart from the handbrake lever, and this feels like handbrake lever on a Ford Granada or Capri. There's no sort of stages to it. The other thing as well is that this gear lever, it's very imprecise. I've stalled the car twice because I thought it was in neutral, and actually it was in reverse. It's just, oh dear. There's the control for the headlamp levelling switch. I don't know why it's there. Who knows? We do have dimmable instruments, and the original key fob would have come with this particular car when it was new in 2006, although as we know the car would have been made in 2005. One thing you can say is there's lots of headroom and everything in here, but I mean everything, just quality of okay, let me out. Right, if you could please, Elliot, release the bonnet and just put that up for me. The bonnet release lever in this car is absolutely horrible. It's probably the worst bonnet release I've ever felt in my life. And the car I drove in 2012 had a broken bonnet release. That tells you all I need to say. So this engine it's a 1.4 unit, I think 1405cc, generating 85 horsepower. Now at the time, if you were to buy a car of similar price to this, although they were a bit overpriced, you'd be looking at something like a 1.1 Fiat Panda with about 60 horsepower. So 85 horsepower does feel quite fast, and 0 to 60 in about 12 seconds isn't too bad. It looks reasonably easy in terms of access. One of the things probably I would do if it were me would be take this horrible plastic cover off. I don't know what 475 actually relates to. It's not a power output. It's not to do with the cubic capacity or anything. We believe that this was based on an old Peugeot diesel engine, but really, who knows? All CityRovers come with the same engine. There is no variation at all. I suppose it's easy enough to work on this. The weird thing is that the car that I found in 2012 had a failed power steering hose. I don't know if that's a common fault on these. It wasn't too difficult to get one. Rimmer Brothers have them in stock. Interesting that it's got a red dipstick. And the ECU is just there. It's a better position to have it there than, in the bulkhead where it could collect water and make the electronics fail, like on the Petron sisters on the old 25 and 45 from 2003 onwards, but we won't talk about that now. One of the things about this car, which is in common with a lot of the other Rover models of the time and MGs is it does have these little releases for the fuel flap and the boot. We don't really need to use the fuel flap release though, because in this car it just comes open like that. So if we close it, we just open it again. We can use the key though to open the boot, just like on my Rover 45. There we go. The capacity of this will be, I suppose, similar to an MG3, a little bit less, maybe about 250 litres. The reason these little clips for the parcel shelf are not attached is because that one, when Elliot attached it to the first time, broke, and we think this is a replacement parcel shelf anyway. It's got the Tata logo on it. There we are. Tata, of course, make such good cars now. The Jaguars and Land Rovers and everything like that, they're brilliant, but you know, at this sort of time, the Tata Indica, which this is heavily based on, is it's just not really acceptable, considering that MG Rover apparently paid Tata £3,000 for one of these cars. I think that was just the base model, and they were charging £6,495 for the base model on launch. It's not very good. Right, as you can see, Elliot is in the back. We're going to keep a safe distance and try to remain safe when driving the CityRover. Just turn around in this car park. Surface is a bit rough around here. Actually, turning circles it's okay. There were 4 trim levels for some reason to choose from in a CityRover. There was the Solo one, which is the one that you're probably most familiar with, because the most famous CityRover on the internet was a Solo owned by Mr. Seabrook from Hubnut. Then there was the Sprite, which came with alloy wheels and aluminium effect pedals, but no electric windows. Strange. Then there was the Select, so Solo Sprite Select, which did come with electric windows. And then this is the top of the range car. This is the Style. I can't remember what additional bits you got on the Style over the Select, to be honest. I do know though you could get leather seats, although this car didn't have them. To drive, well, we've got this gearbox, which is a little bit of a problem, because you keep thinking you're in another gear when you're not. The pedals all have very inconsistent weighting. The brakes are particularly scary. There's nothing wrong with the car necessarily. The brakes don't particularly need changing or anything. It's just they do have this weird kind of weighting to them. Just got to make sure that you press them nice and hard. The clutch bites right near the top of the travel, which I remember the one that I drove in 2012. There's not an awful lot of sound deadening either. There's not huge amounts of it. You'd also get body roll, lots of body roll, and the ride's a bit crashy. It's all right, I suppose. You would get used to driving this car. The seats feel really strange. They're angled in a peculiar fashion, which makes you sit and not in the racing driver position, shall we say. I am very thankful that the air conditioning is blasting nicely, and that we have this very cheerful, very basic indicator noise in here. Yeah, that sounds like something out of the 70s, which, depending on your point of view, is either charming or really a little bit too basic. I'm getting used to this clutch now. This clutch is actually better than the one that was in the car that I drove in 2012, which is good. Obviously these cars rust. You will have maybe seen that in some of the videos. They have problems with the suspension. In fact, there are numerous issues with these which would lead me to believe that perhaps you might want to put your under £1,000 budget elsewhere if you want a car that's going to be long lasting. As I said, the electric windows in this car, some of them work sometimes, that's all I can say, and that's something that was also the case of the one that I drove in 2012. Some of the electric windows worked sometimes. Also, as you would have seen in any of these with a leather steering wheel like this car, they tend to wear very, very badly. There's a lot of gearbox whine as well. I don't know who made the transmission in this car. It presumably is Tata's own unit. You know, I go on sometimes about how bad R65 gearboxes are when you know, they're high mileage ones, but I think if you're not even aware of what sort of gear that you're supposed to be in, then you do have a bit of a problem. Right, let's change the angle then, shall we? We get to this roundabout here. Okay, still struggling a bit with the gearbox, but we're okay. Haven't had too many missed gear changes. Feels like a driving test, actually, driving a car like this around here. Still got the merry indicator noise. Just move that camera angle up slightly, and so you can see my mount, which is a feature of no budget reviews. Whoop! The indicator decided to cancel itself before I was ready. Never mind. It certainly does have a good amount of power to it. It doesn't feel like the old 1.1 unit would have felt in a Rover 2.1, which was this car's really immediate predecessor, or the I think there was briefly a 1.1 litre version of the 25, but it's pretty rare. Yeah, I don't find these seats very comfortable really at all. They're not. The angle's not good, the material's not good, it's just generally not good. Can I recommend this car? Not really, unless you're being very, very ironic and you are an enormous fan of someone like Ian Seabrook's channel and you fancy having one for yourself, because he quite liked it, but just from a point of view of someone who sources cars on a professional basis, I cannot recommend this car really on any level, and Elliot does know that. He is one of these people who has a bit of an ironic kind of view of the world, which is absolutely fine, but in terms of something that's going to be reliable and last you a long time and not provide you with lots of irritating niggles, this is not the car for you. There are far better choices out there for your £1,000. I don't know what this car's like to insure. I imagine it's probably a little bit on the expensive side due to this larger engine. Fuel consumption is not particularly good with these, but you know, I'm having fun, but just in a very kind of ironic way. I think all the sort of essentials when you're looking for when buying a reliable car for £1,000, most of them seem to be lacking in this particular model. Right then, viewers, What do I think of the CityRover? Should you buy one? No. Not at all. Really not at all. Elliot's someone whose family are very into MG Rover, and you know, you'll be seeing another one of the family's collection on the channel pretty soon. But the only real way you can justify owning a car like this is if you have a very ironic sense of humour and you love all the foibles, because there is no empirical way that this car in any way is good. It just really isn't. It just falls short in virtually every single way that, you know, a Super Mini can. It's pretty bad to drive, it's easy to stall, the gear change is horrible, the build quality is terrible, parts situation in this country isn't the worst, but it's not the best, of course. It's nothing like a Fiesta or something like that. But there is something a little bit charming and very ironic about owning a car like this. The air conditioning is very good. It is reasonably nippy. But yes, I'm very grateful to have had the chance to, you know, relive an experience of this car, and not to have actually died in the process. That's obviously an advantage. But thank you very much indeed for watching this episode of No Budget Reviews. We might increase our filming budget slightly in the next one to be able to afford something a little bit, you know, better quality than the CityRover. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel for that if you haven't already done so. Don't forget to like this video and to leave a comment below. I am very honest about cars sometimes, and this is what's happened with this one. I've also got an Instagram page, instagram.com/Lloyd_vehicle_consulting, and also on Facebook, facebook.com/Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. Thank you ever so much indeed for watching once again.